So there's a very specific heart rhythm pattern that's associated with anxiety. In fact, we can distinguish different emotional states just from looking at the HRV, the heart rhythm pattern. So anxiety has a very clear classic example or a pattern. And if that is being fed into the amygdala enough times, that becomes the familiar reference pattern. So what the amygdala is then doing is it's looking at the current now and relevant to the baselines that it's familiar with and looking familiar, not familiar. Now the key here is the brain likes familiarity. That's what's comfortable. And this helps us understand to a certain degree here why humans in general do not like change. It's very hard for us to change. This is why, the anatomy of why, especially unexpected change. But anyway, so the amygdala is really saying familiar, unfamiliar. And the primary rhythm that it's looking for is the heart rhythm. In fact, Dr. Pribram showed this, and I have a quote from his from 1969. The heart's the primary source of rhythmic activity, therefore the primary source of setting the familiar baseline, from which the organism springs from there in terms of emotional experience. So you get where I'm going with this. So we're really looking to what is the heart rhythm now pattern being compared to the amygdala, familiar, not familiar. Oh, this is the anxiety, that's comfortable. So if that becomes our baseline, then they say anxiety, but it could be any state, keep in mind, becomes comfortable. And this is so key to modern psychology, they don't really get this yet, is that one part of the brain trying to manage another part of the brain never really works to establish a new set point, a new baseline. If you follow where I'm going with this, it means that we have to establish a new reference point, a new baseline, to have any kind of sustained change. Right? And what's really amazing that Dr. Pribram also proved, not just suggested, was that the only way you can establish a new baseline is to change the input from the body to the brain, especially the heart. So by practicing being able to shift into a coherent rhythm, and if we can practice that long enough, that is the most rapid way to establish a new baseline reference. I think most people ultimately know if they're in a state of anxiety or not. However, not really sometimes, because when something becomes so familiar that it's comfortable, we actually lose a certain type of self-awareness. One of the ways that we can measure that scientifically is, again, measuring the rhythms of the heart. Anxiety has a very specific pattern, and fastest way that I know to help shift that is to actually provide feedback of the heart rhythm. It's called HRV coherence feedback. There are many devices now that very inexpensive devices that you can clip a little sensor to your earlobe or your finger and get that real-time feedback. And then practice techniques that we know shift you into a coherent state. So, and it just makes sense if you're going to establish a new baseline to actually have some feedback to make sure it's a more coherent one. Once we started really understanding the physiology of how the heart-brain work and the importance of the heart rhythm, we developed a series of tools and techniques that we call the HeartMath system. That's facilitated by technology that actually in real time measures your heart rhythm, your heart rate variability.